Every night before I go to sleep, I pick up my phone. I look at the screen carefully, squinting the way I do since my vision started going, and I check every icon, every corner, every notification badge. Checking, just checking, in case I'd missed something. In case one of them had called while I was in the garden or in the bath or asleep in the chair after lunch, in case I had simply missed them. And every morning, before I even make my coffee, I check again. Before my feet hit the floor properly, before the sleep is fully out of my eyes, I reach for that phone on the nightstand. Frank's side of the nightstand, actually. I moved it there after he passed. I don't know why. 365 mornings, 365 nights, the same ritual, the same result. 1 in 3 Americans over the age of 65 reports feeling deeply lonely, not occasionally, not sometimes, deeply, persistently, painfully lonely. And for millions of them, the loneliness doesn't come from strangers. It comes from their own children. My name is Helen. I am 87 years old. I live in the same yellow house in rural Georgia where I raised my 4 children, David, Carol, James, and Susan. The paint has faded since then, and the porch swing has needed a new chain for 2 years, but I haven't fixed it because the last time someone sat on that swing with me was the summer my husband Frank was still alive. That was 7 years ago now. Frank died on a Tuesday in October. The leaves outside our bedroom window had turned that deep amber color he always loved. I held his hand until it went still. I have not been the same kind of person since, but I have still been a person. I still get up in the morning. I still make my coffee. I still walk to the end of the driveway to get the mail, even on days when my knees scream at me. I still tend to the tomato plants Frank planted the last spring of his life, because letting them die would feel like losing him twice. I am not a woman who sits down and quits. I never have been. I raised 4 children in that yellow house, held down a job for 31 years, nursed Frank through 2 surgeries and a stroke, and when people ask me how I'm doing, I still say, "Oh, I'm managing fine, sweetheart," even when I'm not, especially when I'm not. But about a year ago, something happened that cut me deeper than anything since Frank's passing. My children, all 4 of them, had a family discussion without me. And after that discussion, they came to me with a suggestion, a very gentle, very reasonable, very devastating suggestion. David, Carol, James, and Susan said to me, "Mom, we think it might be time to look at a care home, somewhere safe, somewhere with people around you. We just worry about you being alone out there." I heard what they said, but what I felt was something different. What I felt was, we have decided what to do with you. What I felt was, the house where you raised us, the home where Daddy died, the tomato plants, the porch swing, none of that matters as much as our convenience. I said no, quietly, but absolutely, and that was the last real conversation we had. Have you or someone you love ever felt like your family stopped seeing you as a person and started seeing you as a problem to be managed? Tell us in the comments. You are not alone. After that conversation, the calls stopped. Not immediately. There were a few awkward ones in the weeks that followed, stilted and short, everyone pretending. And then, gradually, like a tide pulling back, they just stopped coming. I told myself they were busy. Of course they were busy. David runs his own business in Atlanta. Carol has 3 grandchildren now. James is traveling for work half the year. Susan always had her own way of disappearing when things got uncomfortable. I told myself all of this. I believed it mostly in the daylight hours. But at night, it was different. And here is what nobody tells you about that kind of waiting. It is not passive. It is exhausting. Every day you wait is a day you are carrying the weight of a question you cannot answer. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something? Is this my punishment? Do they just not love me anymore? I carried all of that, quietly, the way I'd carried everything my whole life, with my back straight and my face composed and my true feelings folded up somewhere no one could see them. Until the morning I looked at my phone and thought, what if it's broken? What if they've been trying to reach me and they can't get through? I got dressed in my good blue cardigan, the one I wear when I have somewhere important to be, and I drove myself to the phone repair shop in town. A young man named Marcus was working the counter. He was patient and kind. He looked the phone over carefully. "Ma'am, your phone is perfectly fine," Marcus said. "See, I'm going to call your number right now from mine. Watch." The phone rang, loud and clear, right there in Marcus's shop, in my own hands. And I, who had not cried in front of another human being since Frank's funeral, put my hand over my mouth and wept. "Then why haven't they called me?" I asked him. "My children, why haven't any of them called me in a whole year?" Marcus didn't have an answer. Nobody had an answer for that. I wiped my face with the corner of my cardigan, thanked him quietly, and walked back out into the parking lot. And I sat in my car for a long time before I drove home. If you're watching this and you haven't called your mother or your father recently, what has been stopping you? Be honest. There's no judgment here, only truth. But here's the part of the story I need you to pay close attention to, because this is where I stopped being a woman things happened to and became a woman who decided to make something happen. Before I left that repair shop, before I walked back out into the world that had gone quiet on me, I turned back to Marcus and asked him something that cost me more pride than you and I can probably imagine. "Young man, I don't suppose you'd have a minute to help me find my children's numbers in here, would you? Their names are David, Carol, James, and Susan, and maybe show me how to call them. I know it sounds foolish, but I'd be grateful." It didn't sound foolish. It sounded like an 87-year-old woman who had been waiting 365 days and was done waiting. Marcus sat me down, pulled up each name, showed me slowly and clearly how to press the button, how to hold the phone, how to know it was ringing. I watched everything with sharp eyes, nodding, committing each step to memory like I was back in school. When I left his shop, I had 4 names and 4 numbers and a plan. I drove home, made myself a cup of tea, sat down at the kitchen table, Frank's old chair, not my usual one. I didn't know why I chose his chair, but somehow it felt right, like I needed him close for what I was about to do. And I thought for a long time about what to say. What do you say to 4 people who went silent on you? What do you say when you're angry but you're also desperate? When you're hurt but you also miss them so much it lives in your chest like something physical? What words do you use when you're 87 years old and you don't know how many chances you have left? By the time the tea had gone cold, I knew what I was going to say, and I was going to say it, all of it, with every ounce of love and pain and truth I had left in me. I started with David, my firstborn, my serious one. The phone rang twice, and then David answered, surprised, a little guilty, a little defensive before I'd even said a word. "Mom? Oh, Mom, hi. I've been meaning to call. It's just been so—" And I said quietly, not coldly, not accusingly, but with a weight that only 87 years of living can put into a voice, "David, don't apologize yet. I need you to listen to me first. Really listen. Not the way you listen when you're half reading an email. The way I listened to you when you were small and you needed me. Can you do that for me, son?" I went to a phone repair shop today. I took my phone there because I thought it was broken. I told myself that maybe you'd all been trying to reach me and the phone wasn't letting your calls through. I held on to that thought for months, David, months, because the alternative, the idea that my children simply chose not to call, that was something I couldn't let myself believe. The young man at the shop called my number right in front of me. My phone rang perfectly. It works just fine. And I stood there in that shop, David, in my good blue cardigan, and I cried in front of a stranger because the phone wasn't broken. The silence was real. I want you to try to understand something. When you go to sleep at night, your mother checks her phone one more time every single night in case she missed your call. I sleep on the side of the bed where your father's nightstand is because that's where I keep the phone now. And before I close my eyes, I look at that screen and I look for your name, Carol's name, James, Susan, any of you. I have done that for 365 nights, and there has been nothing. I know you're busy. I know you have your work and your children and your life, and I am proud of every bit of it. I am proud in a way I don't have enough words for. But David, I am your mother. I am 87 years old. Your father's gone. And some mornings when I wake up, the silence in this house is so heavy I have to sit on the edge of the bed for a little while before I can stand up. Not because my legs hurt. They do, but that's not why. Because it takes me a moment to remember why I should. I did not agree to go to a care home because this house is where I have lived all my life as a wife and a mother. This is where I brought each of you home from the hospital. This is where your father took his last breath. If I leave here, I leave everything that is left of him, and I am not ready to do that. I may never be ready. That is my right, son. But here is what I need you to hear, and I need you to really hear it, not just let it go in and come out the other side. I am not asking you to come home. I am not asking you for money. I am not asking you to rearrange your life. I am asking for 3 minutes once a day to hear your voice, to know that somewhere out there my child is alive and thinking of me. That is all. That is everything. I took care of you when you couldn't take care of yourself. I sat up with you through fevers. I drove you to practice in school and to your first heartbreak when you needed a ride home at 11 o'clock at night. I never counted those hours. I never called them a burden. You were never a burden to me, not once, not even for a minute. I am not asking you to pay that back. Love isn't a debt. But I am asking you to remember that I am still here, still in this yellow house, still tending the tomato plants your father planted, still setting 2 cups out for coffee some mornings before I remember there is only one of me now. I am still here, and I won't be here forever. Neither of us knows exactly how long I have left, but both of us know it isn't as long as it used to be. So please, son, call your mother. Call me tomorrow morning. Call me when you're driving and you have a free minute. Call me when nothing is happening, because here nothing is always happening, and I would love to hear about your nothing. Just call me, please, while you still can, while I still can. I love you, David. I have loved you before you took your first breath, and I will love you long after I take my last. That has never been in question. But love needs to hear a voice sometimes. It needs to know it hasn't been forgotten. David didn't say anything for a long moment, and I waited. I was very good at waiting, as you know. When he spoke again, his voice was different, quieter somehow, younger. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I'll call you tomorrow morning, first thing, I promise." I made 3 more calls that night, to Carol, to James, to Susan. I said variations of the same words, but I said them, all of them, fully and without apology, because at 87 years old, with a working phone and a broken heart, and Frank's chair still warm under me, I had decided I was done being quiet about the things that mattered most. Is there someone in your life, a parent, a grandparent, an aunt or uncle, who might be sitting with a silent phone right now? What would it cost you to call them today? Drop their name in the comments if you want to honor them. The next morning, my phone rang at 7:52 a.m. I was still in my robe, halfway through my coffee. I looked at the screen, and there it was, David. I answered it with a steadier hand than I'd had in a long time. We talked for 22 minutes, about nothing in particular. His drive to work, my tomato plants, a funny thing that happened to his youngest son at school. Small things, ordinary things, everything things. By the end of the week, all 4 of them were calling. Not all at once, not on a schedule, but consistently, regularly, genuinely. Carol called on her lunch break. James called from the road. Susan called on Sunday mornings, which she hadn't done since before Frank died. I still sleep on Frank's side of the bed. I still miss him every single day, but I no longer reach for the phone before my feet hit the floor in the morning, because I already know with quiet certainty that it will ring, that my children are out there, alive and thinking of me, that I have not been forgotten. I fixed the porch swing, too, bought the chain myself, had the neighbor's boy put it up. I sit on it some evenings now, waiting for the phone to ring, no longer afraid of the answer. It is never too late to say what needs saying, but it is always later than you think. If you are watching this right now and you are me, if you are the one waiting, the one checking, the one who has been quiet for too long about a hurt that is eating you alive, I want you to know something. Your feelings are valid. Your need to be heard is not a burden. Your desire to stay in your own home on your own terms with your own memories is not selfishness. It is dignity, and you deserve it. And if you are David, if you are Carol or James or Susan, if you are a child who has let life get so loud that a parent's silence started to feel like the natural order of things, I want you to know this. There is still time. Right now, in this moment, there is still time. Not indefinitely, not forever, but right now, today, there is time. Use it. Did this story speak to something real in your life, either as the parent waiting or the child who stayed away too long? Share it below. Your story might be the one that changes someone else's. Stories like mine are why this channel exists. Every week, we bring you real, emotional, deeply human stories from the lives of older Americans, because growing older doesn't mean disappearing, and no one should have to face it in silence. Subscribe. Be here every week. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needed to hear it. You might be surprised who that person is. Next week, Margaret spent 30 years as a nurse caring for the elderly, then found herself completely alone at 68. What she discovered changed everything she thought she knew about asking for help. Don't miss it.